Back once again with Taylor Bradford of the Gloucester Daily Times to get us up to date on everything that's going on. And there is a lot. First off is the at-large debate at Lanesville Community Center last night.
Yeah, so last night, the candidates, myself, 1623, and Val Gilman, who's Ward 4 councilor, went over to Lanesville Community Center to partake in the first non-mayoral candidate debate. So this is the at-large debate. There's going to be 4 individuals who will take seats, after this election. And the exciting thing is what I noted and that I was seeing at this debate with all these different candidates was just how, one, people were focused on the people of Gloucester in their comments, and 2, just the camaraderie that I think everyone felt on that evening. Because the reality is, this debate versus a debate such as that with the mayor candidates is that, these people will be collaborating with other people who are sitting at that table after election day. So it was cool to see just kind of how there was camaraderie and there was great discussion. Not much heated back and forth, but a lot was discussed. And I think the big things that people noted was thinking about the economic development of Gloucester, thinking about affordable housing. I know that's a big ticket item that we've seen a lot this election season, and seeing how that would work. Just to refresh people's memory of those who are running for at-large, we have Peter Canavo, Jeff Worthley, Jason Groh, Robin Hubbard, Carlton Bruce McKay Jr., Tony Gross, and incumbent James O'Hara. And so they were all there and eager to kind of give their perspective on why they would make a good candidate at large, councilor at large. But I think they didn't necessarily focus too much on, why they would make a good candidate, but really highlighting the questions or the concerns that they heard as they were knocking on doors. Again, this is the first at-large debate that we're having, so it's really an introduction to these candidates and kind of them putting out their cards and saying, I have taken the time to reach out, door knock, and ask people what the big ticket problems are in this city, and those were kind of expounded upon last night. You can read more about that on our website. You can see the video on 1623, and we'll continue coverage as we have quite the number of debates coming up here down the pike. We have Lanesville Community Center on Thursday, October 28th. We'll have a school committee at 5 p.m. and then a mayoral candidate debate at 7 p.m. So stay tuned for that, as that's the next one down the pike.
There is a lot.
I want to just mention, putting a little plug regarding how kind and polite all those candidates were last night. Almost all of them, maybe all of them, thanks 1623 Studios for recording it. So that was very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Ken. Thank you about at the end of this interview, Taylor.
Well, thank you.
Just floating it out there. Okay, so I was driving around earlier today, and I actually saw the kiosk being worked on down on Rogers Street.
Yeah, so all summer long, if you go to downtown, you most likely won't have to pay for parking. And for a lot of people, this was a great thing, not having to pay for downtown. But actually,
I loved it.
It was great for a lot of people. You kind of started, if you were regular, you started to figure out where you could and couldn't park. But that is coming to a close. So the reason why people didn't have to pay is because the kiosks that the city ordered had a malfunction with them. So they reordered new ones, and these new ones are being installed and they work, and they're getting ready to put them up and running. And that will be hopefully finished by Thursday, which people by Friday, they'll be up and running. And I think this is an interesting story because the city is currently in the middle of installing these new kiosks that will allow motorists to pay with an app, by card, or by cash. But the kiosks that they had to replace, they had a problem that did not allow the machines to accept cash. And this was a vendor problem. This was not a city problem. It's not caused by the city. So the vendor covered all of the costs of, changing over the kiosks. The city didn't have to take on any of that. The vendor absorbed the additional costs, which were approximately $41,550 worth of labor related to switching the kiosks out. And so I was able to speak with assistant to the CAO, Chris Sicaranza, a little bit more about this, of thinking about, okay, they had this malfunction problem, and then there's delays due to COVID with all the shipping over the new materials. But at the end of the day, what do the numbers look like? I think a lot of people are asking the question of how much did the city lose this summer by not having the kiosks? And I thought this was really interesting. So as Sikaranza noted out, that the revenue the city earned only from the kiosks during the summer of 2019 totaled to $75,633. The summer following was the lowest due to COVID. That was summer 2020, with the revenue amounting to $32,195. This year, from July 1st through October 7th, it was at $59,795. So from the kiosks that were, working and all the other, so reality is, in terms of we're looking at, this year compared to other years, the pandemic year was still worse off, even with the kiosks running, which I think gives a good showing of just how many people didn't visit the city in 2020. And so I think that was pretty interesting. And, the city, as they're looking at, that's not just change. That's quite a bit of money. I think it's quite a bit of money, but to offset the loss by not having the kiosk downtown this summer, the city is looking into revenue recapture through the Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Association or federal support waiver. So they are looking to try to regain some of that money that they lost, but they didn't have to pay any additional out of pocket for the changing over the kiosks.
And you had a pretty stunning statistic in there for how much the city makes overall for in parking revenue, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to.
$450,000 a year or something.
Yeah, $450,000 together. Yeah, correct. Yeah, so it's quite a bit. It's crazy because that includes parking meters, kiosks, and monthly parking passes fees. And so yeah, the fiscal year of 2020 was $359,990. And so that's quite a lot of money if you think about it. In the fiscal year 2021, which ran from July 1st to 2020 to June 30th, 2021, the city collected $266,905. So again, a little bit lower because they're dealing it, but it's interesting to see just kind of the variation. So it's usually between $500,000 and our lowest that we saw this year, which was, roughly $250,000.
Right.
And lastly, Taylor, let's touch upon the proposed 1% pay raise for teachers.
Yeah, so I'm going to briefly touch about this as there's a lot of meat here and it's still ongoing, but the members of the Gloucester's Teachers Association are pushing back against the district's salary proposal that includes an annual cost of living adjustment increase of just 1% for the next 3 years. The union is seeking a 3% raise to match the regional increase in the cost of living, which is at 3.3%. It's also looking to add a step increase of 4% to the top salary. So that's the GTA. What they're asking in their proposal, while the city is only saying the 1%. So the city did this, made this proposal. The city GTA is pushing back, and as they had this deliberation, GTA members stood outside the bargaining negotiations last week, in support of their bargaining team, and then arrived at school the next day all wearing black to mourn the district's proposal. So you can just kind of visit a physical representation of just kind of the frustration that these teachers have. And a big thing that they're noting is, they want support, and maybe their ask is a little bit more than years past, but they're saying that the past year was unlike anything they've ever experienced. And so they're expecting, while it might be asking a little bit more, in the sense it's not unjustified because of what they had to do. And the city's pushing back, saying, that they're looking at it from a different side, and they're actually going to be able to provide a little bit more with that 1%. That 1% is actually pretty nice with the cost of living adjustment, because that's on top of additional increases that they see every year with a track and step raise. But I think the problem is, even though the school committee is saying that you guys also get a step and track increase, including the interesting note is that COLA, cost of living adjustment increase, everybody gets that, but people who are at the top step stop getting that step increase at a certain step, at the highest step. And so again, there's this kind of frustration saying, you know, not everyone's going to get that, or we're not going to get this, or who's going to get this much. And so this conversation is still ongoing. There's a lot of numbers, a lot of details that are very specific to school salaries and how that all works. It's truly fascinating, and there's going to be more about it as they continue negotiations next week. So stay tuned for that as they continue to deliberate and discuss more. But yeah, just stay in touch. And I know that they just had a school committee meeting this Wednesday, and there were a lot of comments from teachers who, you know, were a little bit frustrated, or a lot frustrated with what's going on. So we will continue to follow that. And that's all that I got for you guys today.
All right. Well, make
Wait,
sure
Taylor, I have to ask you one question. In your article, you noted how much per paycheck that 1% offered. Can you?
Yeah, I can definitely outline that. So it's a good question. So one of the teachers and GTA members, Matthew Lewis, kind of broke down what the school committee's kind of proposal would actually look like in a paycheck. And he outlined that under the district's proposal, each teacher would receive $22.13 gross increase per paycheck, with approximately 30% of that deducted for taxes from each check. This means, as he said, that teachers would only walk away with approximately $15.49 per paycheck. And that, from what he said, is what 1% looks like.
Yikes. All right. We'll be sure to follow up on that one, Taylor. Thanks for all your work again. We will see you next week.
Thank you guys so much. In 1623, you're the best.